6.
Do you have 4 o'clock?
Yes.
The boxes on Friday.
We will call our Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order.
Where is everybody?
Matt.
We do have a quorum.
We do?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and
6.
6. Barbara, 6. So, first on the agenda is public health. I guess I would just, any of the department heads that are here now, we're looking for the meat and potatoes of it. I know Kim and I talked earlier. She had a couple major issues, which is causing an increase in her budget. She's going to go over with us. I think when Kim's all done, or any of the department heads, if we have questions about any particular lines, maybe we could ask them. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, well, our budget this year is grand total, yeah, right, when I was at last year.
Increase 385, 383.
This year's budget is up $385,000 from last year. That's what it's up, from what we asked for what we got last year, it's up $385,000. And of that, $200,000 of that is the money that was in this year's 2016 budget for tuition for the 3 to 5 program that was cut. And I am going to need X amount of close to $200,000 put back into the budget to pay the tuition fund. Okay, are you following me with that?
So you estimated last year.
Last year's budget, we submitted, you deducted $200,000, not about you, but $200,000 was deducted from the tuition line.
From the request.
From our requested budget. We are coming back to ask for that money to pay the bills.
Because we were short this year,
Because
200,000.
we're short 200,000. Therefore, next year's budget for 2017, that $200,000 is back in the budget for me. I'm putting it back in, coming with you, hey, I needed it in 16, you took it away, I came back, I need it for 17.
Now in 16, where did we end up getting the money from, the fund balance? How do we pay the bill?
We haven't yet, I haven't come back yet for it.
But you're going to before the year's out, is what you're
Yes.
telling us.
I know, I can project that and see that based on tuition and the number of kids going enrolled into the programs. Okay?
We just,
So is that part you following me of the $385,000 increase in my budget?
if not for that, it would be 185.
200,000 is based on the fact that I need it this year, I need it next year to pay tuition.
Okay.
So 200 is for this year, 185 is for next.
No, we're only talking about $200,000 out of the $385,000 increase. I'll go on to explain the other 185 if you're ready. The other $185,000 increase, $143 of that is the increase in transportation. From the transportation bid that you guys all received from Brown's, it had gone up, everybody knew it at the time. That's a $143,000 increase in next year's budget versus this year's budget for transporting the children with special needs. And then also of that is $40,000, which is McGinnis, which you also passed last month, the McGinnis program. That's going to cost the county $40,000 to have the 3 to 5 program managed fiscally and the program with McGinnis. So with that $200,000 increase to meet the cost of tuition for the children with special health care needs, $143,000 increase for the increase in the cost for tuition or transportation to transport these children, $40,000 increase for McGinnis, the program we're getting to better manage the program. That leaves $2,000 that I didn't mention, and that's really just sprinkled throughout the budget on little things that might be a salary or something that's not funded.
Okay, I just wanted to ask about the McGinnis. Is there any way that they would be able to also work with other departments? Because I've talked with them at the conferences, and they are a great asset. I was so happy to see that you were bringing them on board.
Currently, the program that we're buying from them is a special 3 to 5 program.
Okay.
It's a 4410 program for
Okay.
state education, and it only meets the needs of the mandates of that program. It doesn't have any other accounting or managerial capabilities for anything else that I know of.
When I had asked, that information wasn't given to me, so that's good to know. Thank you so much.
So, with the McGinnis, was there any efficiencies that were expected?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where would they show up?
Actually, well, they should show up in the future, and I don't know if we'll be able to account for them without going the other way too, because unfortunately, this year, right now, the way we build the 3 to 5 program to get Medicaid, recouped Medicaid for some of the costs of the tuition, we go through the NERC system, which is the preschool children's Medicaid program, and we submit our bills that way. That's all going away, and every claim has to now be submitted through eMedNy. And when I say every claim, I don't mean one child's physical therapy claim. I mean every session that child has. So if it has physical therapy 5 times a week, and the child has speech 5 times a week, or OT 5 times a week, each one of those Medicaid claimable services needs to be individually data entered into eMedNy. With this new McGinnis program, it wipes that out. So we won't need manpower to do the mandate that's coming down from the state for that with the change. So you'll save there. You also,
Excuse me for a second. So are you saving what you're doing now, or are you going to have a cost avoidance in the future?
cost avoidance in the future, that were reflected what I just explained to you.
We don't know the total number on that yet.
Right.
For it all to play out.
You should have some efficiencies, so we may be recouping some Medicaid that we couldn't before recoup. For instance, there's things that you can track with the system, such as under the direction of, which is like speech therapists that work under the direction of other speech therapists. That is very hard to track whether you've got all the components that make it okay and legal for you to bill for that service. So there are different various things. And it will hopefully even cut down maybe on some staff time that works on that system. That remains to be seen because we have to get it up and running.
Do you see any increases in efficiency as far as the billing and billing 100%, where we might have had manual error in the past?
Honestly, I don't think you're going to see a great increase in revenue generated from it, but you shouldn't see a great
More of a cost avoidance?
cost. You know what I mean? Yes, it's more of a cost avoidance.
All right.
And I think you did answer it, but that's where I was getting when I originally had answered, and that could possibly be correlated with DSS, with the speech therapist, with other components, with other departments, possibly down the line.
No.
So the 410 program with your department has no other
This is
connection?
a database, okay? This is a database we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that database manages the 4410 program, and it also fiscally builds it out.
Okay,
I don't know, no other department has a 4410 program,
okay.
so I don't know what they could put in the system to make it work for them.
Okay.
I'm not aware of anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Oh, Martin.
How realistic are the revenue increases in the market that you've increased your revenues?
Extremely. If your cost, the way public health works, a lot of our programs, is our cost goes up, so does our revenue go up because of what we can bill back for those services.
So you think you're pretty spot on with those?
22 years plus, she's been doing our budget.
Yeah.
Deb?
Yeah, I mean, we were spot on last year, and
Okay.
we're spot on this year.
Terry?
Okay, and this is her last year? That,
Yeah, Jeff prepares our budget.
okay.
I mean, she goes over it with me.
Did you just say, is
review
this
it.
from last year?
Yeah, last year for working. Isn't she,
He just asked if this was her last year and she's retired.
Oh, yes, I was hoping to squeak one more out of her, but she might leave
Yeah.
next June for her birthday.
Okay.
You know.
It's hard to get the
yeah.
budget done before then.
Yeah.
so with this year's budget, you're good on everything else except for the 200,000?
That,
And when are you going to be coming to the board with that?
honestly, when I say 200,000, I'm hoping that it's gonna be, because this is all ballpark, I'm hoping I'm gonna come back for about $150,000 to $165,000. That's more where I'm looking. I'm throwing 200,000 out there to you.
'Cause that's
It's
what
a
you asked.
ballpark. One kid will cost you $40,000 for just tuition alone. So you get a kid in anytime, like right now even, or starting up in September, we have to pay for September, October, November, and December with that. We have a ballpark number of kids enrolled right now, but they still are continuing to come. School doesn't start till September,
Okay.
that school year. You see? So it's like, kind of like a crystal ball analysis analogy that you have to do with these costs. But we're so good at doing it that, Deb really is, that we get it pretty darn close.
Very good. Nothing further? Thank you very much. Before we go on, County Executive come in, as most of you received an email today, a memo from the executive talking about possibly a $5 million gap between where we were this year presently and where we need to be. Matt, if you want to.
Sure. Well, again, we're getting at this really early this year, which is, I always say it's good to get a good start. Really these initial department budgets are, the initial requests. We did not review these like we're doing this year in the past. What is in my executive budget and what is in these departmental budgets are going to be very different and likely to the tune of about $5 million. So with that gap from the request to what's in the executive budget, I'm going to try to get as close to where we were last year as humanly possible, which is going to be some very, very difficult decisions, I think. But obviously that's what we're working through now, and we're going to take a look at it, and but I think it's good that we're getting a start. And then my budget will come out September 5th, and we'll take it from there. But we are looking at some big increases in some budgets, and we're as you saw in the thing, with about 200,000 or so in tax cap increase.
269 or something?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, and as many of you know, oftentimes the first maybe 3 or 4 million might not be the hardest part. It's that last $1 million, and so. But that's what we're going to have to work through over the next couple months. So as far as process goes, before we go any further, I'd be happy to take any questions or anything like that.
Anyone?
I just wanted to ask a question. Could you go over the $200,000 increase in tuition again? Maybe I wasn't listening. What's causing that? Is it a raise in rates, or is it a raise in the perceived?
Today is 2016. When I prepared the budget for 2016, it had $200,000 more in it than it does right now.
Requested.
Going through this,
Requested.
I requested $200,000 more. Going through this process, it was cut.
Understood.
Now you got it? Going next year, because I need it this year, going next year, got to go back
So you're
in.
going to fall short this year.
I'll fall short this year. If you take it away, I'll fall short next year.
What are your projections of falling short this year?
160.
200,000, or did you say 150?
We'll see it.
150 to 160 is what she's projecting we're going to have to find for
This
this
year.
year to pay the bill.
Yeah.
Moving forward, we could take 300,000 out of the budget for this coming year. The bottom line is, whatever the number is, we got to pay a bill.
For that.
If we luck out and you don't have the cost, it's
And the
a,
state has a way, if you don't
Crapshoot.
pay their bill, they stop paying you. And not just in public health, but across the board. At least that's what they say.
okay. Next on our agenda, we have the district attorney.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Go ahead, DA, give us the rundown.
Well, the rundown is essentially, I'm asking for 3 things. I'm asking for my secretary's salary to come in line with the increases that have been given to the sheriff's secretary. Over the last, I think from 2008 to 2010, it was, my secretary got a $4,000 increase and the sheriff's got a $10,000 increase. So there's a a $6,000 difference there that I don't know how that's justified. I'm asking for an extra day for my investigator to go from 3 days to 4 days, which would be about another $7,000 a year because of the increased duties that he's got, both in our caseload and now with the ignition interlock monitoring. And the executive can tell you that the state set up this ignition interlock system Lucille and I have to deal with, and they didn't tell you how to do it. They just said, here, do this. And then after we've been doing it for 4 years, like golfing for 4 years without a lesson, they came in and said, oh, hey, your swing's all wrong. You know, you're doing this all wrong. And then, what they audit 6 counties, Lucille? 5 in the whole state, and then they issue this report, and it looks like, oh, you know, we're the dumbbells. You know, of course, everybody else is doing the same thing we are. And then they say, okay, here's what your corrective action is. So that has added an awful lot of work to the office. Then I've got one clerk typist that we'd like to upgrade to a senior clerk typist because she's really doing.
What's the difference? What's the difference in pay?
You know, I was looking in here and Nancy didn't have that.
$1,400.
1,400 for that one? Okay. So, and I just like to point out, because you know, this is different than the Board of Supervisors. This is fairly new. But since I've been district attorney, the taxpayers haven't really paid for anything in the district attorney's office other than supplies and personnel. We've used forfeiture money to purchase all of our equipment, which includes furniture, computers, other equipment that we use, you know, technical stuff for trials. We've also provided a lot of equipment for all the police agencies in the county, state police, all the local PDs, and the sheriff's department. So, I mean, we've really pretty much held the line for a long time, and I'm just asking for these little increases this year.
Now, so I'm adding that up and I'm seeing 14,000 or something, but it shows about a 40,000 difference. The other part of that is the mandated salary, which is increased from this to last. Just so everybody is aware, that's the extra 30, that's the mandate, that's what it is.
Unfunded.
So really, barring that, what you're looking at is about a $14,400 increase over last year's.
Right.
Questions?
I just have one. Your secretary, does she stay on once you're done, or does she leave with you? Or
It depends upon whether the next district attorney wants to keep her.
just curious?
She serves at the pleasure of the district attorney. Right, she's non-bargaining.
Right.
But your argument for that is, no matter who it is, it should be in line. That's the argument you were
Right.
making. No matter who it is, how do you justify
They're at the same
doing the
level,
same thing?
essentially. Yeah, confidential secretary to the department.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
He does it to everybody else. So what? Okay, you want me to wait? No. Lucille,
Are you ready?
we are ready.
Okay, I'll start off with a mistake.
That's good.
In my revenue item, the stock EWI money, we put in at 29.5, it's really 25,000.
Oh, that's not good.
It's just a small mistake. But it did change my total local source to 51,000 from 55,500. And then my total revenue went down from 196,390 to 191,890. Beyond that, there's not really a whole lot of change in my budget. It's pretty much the same as last year. A couple of little things went down, some things went up. Probably my biggest increase overall was I put in
some money for furniture for our new building. I had asked last year for $10,000 because we're moving to a new building for various things, and I grossly underestimated how much it would cost. One of the big things we're doing is changing the filing system. The building was built with recesses in the walls for brand new filing system. I didn't think it was going to be $13,000, but it was. So there were other things I couldn't buy this year that I would like to buy next year. So I've increased that line item. Beyond that, everything else is essentially the same.
Questions?
What should that 13,000 on filing system?
That was how much the filing system cost. That I was able to buy this year. But we needed other things. For instance, there's a break room that had no furniture in it. We needed tables, chairs, a refrigerator, and a microwave. We have a conference room. I have a table right now. I don't have a conference room. I have a shared office that officers share inside the conference room. And it seats 6 and 8 people. Well, there's 13 people in my office, so we can't all sit around this table. So I need to order a bigger table, more chairs. I needed chairs for the reception area. Right now, we have, I think, 5 chairs up there. They're kind of old, broken chairs that our clients sit in. Now we have an actual reception area, and I didn't have anything to put in there. So these are the kinds of things that I'm going to need.
Lucille, the revenue with the stop DWI that you said was, is that the very 1270 line? Is that shared
Yes.
services?
Yes.
Okay. So that should really read,
That should be 25,000. We also get this SDPP money, that's 45. The total is 29.5. We just kind of.
okay, so we should have 29.5 over
Yes.
there. And then we need to reduce,
Reduce the local source to
The-
51,000. And then the total revenue is reduced by about by that amount. So
by
it's
191.
890.
Okay. Any other questions for Lucille? Really, your budget's almost mirroring, is that the right word, mirroring
Last year's.
last year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. County clerk, we can go early. Go ahead, Helen.
Good evening. Unlike everyone else, I think my budget might be reduced this year. My appropriations, I kept as the same as last year and even the previous year. Lower. It's lower than the last year. Okay, for revenue, I am asking you not to increase the revenue. We even got an email from the Office of the Controller. The sales tax revenue is down, so I would like to leave it the same. Have you look at that closely.
Did we hit it this year, though? I mean, are we close to what
Well,
we budgeted?
well, last year, we added additional revenue because of the sales tax, vehicle use tax, which we're doing good on that. It's about 300,000, and I'm asking you to keep that the same. But then last year, they put in because Matt wanted to increase the mortgage tax. And so we didn't do that, so we're not going to get that revenue. So,
Additional, right?
and I think it reflects in my budget, right, Sean? You know, I didn't have anything to do with that, so, but
Would you,
But my regular revenue is, I would like you to keep it at 700,000 and the clerk's fees, 300,000. But that's another issue. I wanted that to be separated because that's motor vehicle. And it goes in the same line. So, other than that, I haven't asked for anything. I asked for the full-time clerk that you approved last year to be reduced to a part-time.
You said the total revenues was 700 and some thousand?
700,000.
I'm not seeing that.
On top.
700 plus 300.
Where is it?
Total of $1 million.
Okay,
Oh,
It's on the
gotcha,
revenue sheet.
gotcha.
so it's 300,000 lower than last year.
The only thing that I am asking for is in data processing, because it goes under his budget, I'm asking for a scanner. We have 3 reader printers that are used in our office, 2 are obsolete. The third one, we can't get parts for, so I'm asking for a scanner, and that's in the data processing budget. That's it.
Sean, because it's such a large revenue stream, are you kind of on the same page with Helen there in your thinking? Are you, well, you're both here, I figure we might as well.
I had to go back and look to see what the breakdown of the 1.3 last year was.
Okay. So maybe you could do that and just let us,
And I can let you know.
yeah.
Well, I think I have, what do you need to see, the budget? I have it.
I mean, we don't have to do it now. I just am looking for his input at some point.
See what was budgeted last year?
This was before we adopted the motor vehicle.
Question for
Right.
Okay.
See, we budgeted for mortgage tax.
Right, and then it didn't go through.
We never did it, so.
Right. Okay. Terry has a question.
To go back to the mortgage tax, what exactly, could you explain what the increase was and, were you raising it a certain percentage?
Okay, there's 2 kinds of mortgage tax. You can increase the rate we're at, or what was budgeted last year was for mortgage tax expense. That's the expense that we get. We get $2,867.08 a month because of what we do. And we can go up higher than that, but there was always the theory that it took away from the towns. And that's why it never got increased, okay?
Helen, is it possible for you, knowing what the increase that was proposed was going to be, tell us what the difference would have been based on this year's?
Oh, yeah, because Matt told me try to get 100,000.
I mean,
So that's what I think was budgeted. And when I checked with mortgage tax, he said that he would approve that because, see, I gave you a survey. They did a survey of county clerks this year, and they're all over the place. Some county clerks take money for mortgage tax, some do not, some take everything they can get. So it would be whatever you wanted. It could cover employees, equipment, anything to do with mortgage tax. And we haven't had that increase in years.
right. Terry, go ahead and finish. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, maybe Bob can explain it too. I'm not quite sure where the money's coming from.
I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure too, so I was going to ask, you talked about 2 different methods.
Yeah, there's 2 different
One is
mortgage
a
tax.
reimbursement from the state for handling, for collecting, is that correct?
Okay. The mortgage tax expense that was budgeted last year, the revenue, is expense that we get monthly, okay?
From
Other-
the state?
No, from the mortgage tax that we collect.
Okay, but you said that it's the same amount every month.
Yeah, that's what you approved. That's what was approved, $2,867.
That's our,
Well, as a real estate, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not this.
Okay.
Mortgage tax, we're one of the lowest. I think we're 1%.
And we had proposed to go to what?
And you know what, years ago, you were approved by the state, and then the state decided not to let the counties do that. There was a period of time they wouldn't let you. Now they're letting them do that again, but you chose not to do it. because
What were we proposing to go to last
Everybody was
year?
running for election that year.
What were we proposing to go to last year, from 1% to what?
Pardon me?
What were we proposing to go to that never happened? Go from 1%
I think it
to,
was 1 1/4.
was it one?
Or 3/4, I think it was 1% or 1 1/4.
And what would that have done for us is what my question was.
What's that?
What would that have done for us if we did that, based on this year's?
Well, that's, you don't know. It
Well,
depends on the mortgage tax.
No, I know, but you would know because you know what come in this year. And once you know what comes in and you add 0.5% to it, that would have told you what the upswing would have been, right?
I don't have that figure today.
No, I mean, but like to date, you know
Based on
how,
0.75%,
Yeah.
it said it varies from roughly
It's
gaining
more
200 to
to-
300,000 a year is what we collect down to 0.75%.
Yeah.
You're gonna add another
half,
potentially 100 to 150.
okay,
If that had passed, but now you would have to go back because
right.
that legislation expired. You'd have to actually
Yeah.
go get special legislation.
But real property could tell us the amount of sales.
That's what I'm getting at,
And
Bob.
They could give us, they could graph it, so it's a constant, and you could understand that. I think without understanding the volume of real estate sales in any given year makes, this is a tough decision. If we can get that from real property,
Yeah,
can
we,
we
I
charge
can
somebody?
get that
in-
information, but
Would
it's
you
never
please?
been discussed all these years, so that's why I don't have it today.
No, I'm not asking for it today, but Bob makes a good point. If you go to real property and say, look, what were the actual sales for year 2015? And even though it's Monday morning quarterbacking, had we raised it 0.5%, here's what would have equated to in revenue.
Well, you can trend it.
And you can trend it over a 5-year period or,
Over 4 or 5 years and identify.
We are one of the lowest in the state, and just because we are one of the lowest in the state, doesn't make people move in here. Half the people don't even know about the mortgage tax that they pay.
Till they
when
buy the
buying
house.
a house.
Yeah.
all
But I'm
right,
not proposing it.
any, Barb?
Yeah, why are we keeping the projection at 1.3? Only because I'm looking at 14 and it was around 700 for the revenue. And then 15 wasn't quite. It seems like we're hoping, which I love hope, but if we're projecting that we're gonna make 1.3 in Sean's thinks,
Well, it's a million
She's proposing to reduce it down to 1.
to 1, it was
Going
1.
back to 13 and 14, we did not have vehicle use tax at that time.
understand?
So that's where the additional, from the 7 to the 1 is coming from, is vehicle use tax. That was passed last year, year before.
Last year.
Where are we coming up with a reduction of $300,000?
That's what we do. I give that report to Terry.
Because, Bob, we proposed 1.3 in the budget,
Yes.
but then after the budget was passed, the mortgage tax didn't go through. So what actually happened was we were closer to $1 million.
Okay.
Correct, Sean?
Yes.
So we're getting down to nuts and bolts, the value of the mortgage tax anticipated around $300,000.
Well, you
But
could,
that was the projection in the past.
More vehicles.
had it passed,
The situation you have is, if you want to potentially increase that, you can address that mortgage tax issue again, but it's the issue, it's that town, city versus county issue.
Can you
Because you're gonna take money away from the towns and the city to give it to the county.
Can you explain that? The mechanics of that, why is it taken away from the towns?
Because the way mortgage tax is distributed, what Helen collects, she takes her $2,800 and change a month for expenses. She has got the approval through the state that she could increase that up to potentially about $8,000 a month to get a total of $100,000 for the county.
See,
But- Go ahead. But
Every-
if you take that expense away off of the top of the mortgage tax, that's going to reduce the amount you distribute to the towns, villages, and city.
So we're distributing it after we take our cut, we distribute the balance based on the ratio of population or assessed valuation to the towns.
It depends on how you want to distribute it. If you want the county to get more money, we take more mortgage tax expense. In every municipality, according to that survey, you can see it. Everybody handles it differently.
Okay. Matt, did you have anything? Anyone else?
No, I'd just like to input that having a more realistic number, but thank you so much for all the detailed explanation, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, moving on, economic development. Nobody's here yet, because we're early. So let's move on to Kelly, so she can go home and have supper.
I'm glad I got here early.
Before we get started, I think a nice, big Montgomery County round of applause. We got the, and we haven't done any official announcements yet, but we did receive the records management grant for $150,000, which was extremely competitive. And I think Kelly for leadership also, getting the other municipalities to buy in, not just by signing a paper, but also committing real dollars, I think was a big help for us. But obviously we wouldn't be here without her, so she did a great job on it. Now we move to the more difficult, not more difficult, but just as difficult task of implementation and getting people to change habits and go from paper to computer, which is going to be fun.
And the only thing we have to work on now is just getting our MWD forms in and the final approval. I mean, as far as my budget request for 2017, there's virtually no change. And the reason I say that is because I did put in for $7,000 for professional services that would complete the cultural resources survey for our historic properties of western Montgomery County. That was the balance of what I needed, but I just got an $8,000 grant from the Broughton Foundation, so I don't need that request anymore.
Is that in here?
Yep.
That's in the request. I just got the grant about a week ago.
Where's that in here?
That would be line 4431.
Professional services.
Yep, so it says 7,000, but that's no longer necessary.
So we can zero that out, and that lowers that number to 98, 99.
That would be for 2017.
Add the revenue, but you gotta keep the expense.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just put in a resolution for 16 years. Yes. So yeah, that would bring down my appropriations to $2,100. I just had to increase my 4476 association membership dues by $5. Otherwise, everything else stays the same.
Good job.
So
Any questions?
That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. No questions? All right, thank you.
You did good.